When xenophobic tensions rose in South Africa, two African governments faced the same crisis. Their citizens were afraid their nationals were being targeted, and Africa was once again watching Africans turn against Africans. But then something revealing happened. Ghana called South African diplomats for questioning. But then Nigeria advised its citizens to stay indoors in South Africa. One government spoke outwardly, the other spoke cautiously, and suddenly millions began asking, why does Africa's so-called giant always sound afraid? Tonight, Kann Media Group examines the painful contrast between Ghana and Nigeria's response to xenophobic hostility in South Africa, and what it reveals about leadership, national dignity, and the psychological collapse of African governance. Nigeria and Ghana are not just countries, they are symbols. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Ghana, the black star of African pride. Both nations have millions of citizens living across the continent. Both nations understand migration. Both nations know economic struggle. But when their citizens face fear abroad, their governments reveal two different personalities. One projected diplomatic confidence, the other projected survival mode. South Africa's xenophobia problem did not begin today. For years, tensions have exploded against foreign Africans accused of either taking jobs or increasing crime or overwhelming services, or of course dominating local businesses. Whether true or exaggerated, the anger has repeatedly turned violent, accumulating into shops destruction, migrants attack, communities are being terrified. And this time, disturbing rhetoric spread online and in public spaces, including calls targeting foreigners in hospitals and public institutions. For many Nigerians and Ghanaians living in South Africa, the fear felt familiar. But what shocked many observers most was not South Africa's anger. It is how differently African governments reacted to it. Ghana's response carried symbolism. Reports indicated that Ghanaian authorities summoned South Africa diplomats for explanations and discussions over the safety of Ghanaian citizens. To some, it was merely diplomacy. To others, it was something deeper. A government publicly signaling that the dignity of its citizens matters. In international politics, symbolism is power. Sometimes nations cannot solve crises instantly, but citizens still want to feel defended. They want to believe their government notices their pain, and for many Ghanaians watching from home and abroad, their government appeared present. They appeared visible, alert, and of course concerned. Nigeria's response was very different. Authorities reportedly urged Nigerians in South Africa to remain indoors, avoid dangerous areas, and prioritize safety. From a security perspective, the advice made sense. Dead citizens cannot be protected. Escalation could worsen tensions, but emotionally, many Nigerians interpreted the message differently. Not as protection, but as surrender. A country of over 200 million people, Africa's largest economy, reduced to telling its citizens to hide indoors while facing hostility abroad. And once again, the painful criticism returned. What exactly does Nigerian power mean? Because power is not only military, it is psychological, diplomatic, symbolic. And increasingly, many Nigerians feel their country no longer projects confidence internationally. This debate goes beyond Ghana and Nigeria. The deeper pain is this: millions of Africans no longer believe their governments can give them dignified lives at home. This is why migration across Africa continues rising. Young people are fleeing their countries because of unemployment, because of insecurity, corruption, collapsing institutions, and of course political hopelessness. And when they arrive elsewhere, they are often treated not as fellow Africans but as burdens. This is the tragedy of modern Africa. Victims of failed leadership competing against other victims of failed leadership. A citizen without protection at home will eventually feel unprotected everywhere. South Africa frustration did not emerge in a vacuum, but neither did African migration. The real crisis is not merely xenophobia, it is continental leadership failure. Because if African nations worked, their citizens would not need to scatter across the continent searching for survival. And until government restore dignity at home, Africans will continue exporting desperation and importing resentment. Perhaps the saddest part of this story is that Africans are now becoming unwanted in Africa itself. Not because they lack value, but because leadership failure has turned migration into survival. And until Africa governments begin defending both the dignity and future of their citizens, the continent will keep bleeding from wounds it refused to heal. Africa cannot continue like this. A continent blessed with resources, yet exporting its people in pain. A continent with powerful speeches, but weak protection for ordinary citizens. The question is no longer whether xenophobia is wrong. The real question is, how many more Africans must run from their own countries before leaders finally change? And now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Ghana handled this situation better than Nigeria? Should Africa governments respond more aggressively when their citizens are targeted abroad? Or is quiet diplomacy the wiser path? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Because conversations like this matter. And if Africa leaders refuse to listen, then Africa must begin speaking louder. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kann Media Group for more fearless African documentaries, political analysis, and stories that mainstream avoids. Because Africa's future depends on Africans who are willing to confront uncomfortable truths.